Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Alright, y'all, in this episode I'm going to be talking about Boruto episode 202, spoilers. Now this right here is going to be definitely a very good episode that we've been waiting for a very long time in regards to a lot of the manga readers out there. But regardless, the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to read the spoilers that were released by Organic Dinosaur a long time ago, I think a month ago at this particular point, about this episode. And not only that, I'm also going to go over what happened in the Boruto manga to show you guys exactly what's supposed to be animated in this episode of the Boruto anime. But regardless, the title is going to be a religious organization. Into the actual paragraph, it says the director of the Anbu side became worried over some acquired intel based on the data that was brought back by Sarutobi Konohamaru from the airship crashing incident, and so Sai requested Sasuke to handle it, utilizing the time-space ninjutsu to pay a visit to the site. There are many enigmatic shapes that were depicted in that particular dimension. Sasuke thought that many of the aspects of what he had been seeing there could be connected to the Otsutsuki clan. In the meantime, someone was using some amazing powers. A sick person had been saved by one of the leaders of the Kata, Boro, right in front of everyone's eyes. Facing the people who had been gathered around him, Boro preached that he would find a way to make everyone happy. Alright, so from these spoilers, we basically got outlined exactly what's going to happen. There's going to be two parts of these episodes. The first one is going to be Sasuke in this Otsutsuki dimension. Now, of course, from these spoilers, it doesn't necessarily say it's going to be in an Otsutsuki dimension. I'm going to tell you guys right now, this is an Otsutsuki dimension. But regardless, the second part of this episode is going to be Boro basically doing his magic. Now, I do want to point out, Boro and his magic and Boro basically doing his religious organization stuff was not in the Boruto manga. And I think this right here is a perfect description upon why people need to watch the Boruto anime and not only rely on the Boruto manga. There's literally like half of the story that isn't necessarily told in the Boruto manga, and this right here is going to be a part of that. So I really do want to see what comes of this. But when it comes to the Boruto manga, and specifically what it's going to be adapting, is going to be adapting half of chapter 35. And I do want to point out, this right here is a little bit different, mainly because a couple days earlier, a couple weeks earlier, I've been talking about the Boruto manga being adapted to the Boruto anime, and they're literally adapting fully whole chapters into the Boruto episodes. But right now we're just going to get half of it, and of course the other half is going to be about Boro. But the second half of chapter 35 is going to be Sasuke entering this Otsutsuki dimension. This right here is what we see in the last episode, but this right here goes a little bit more into detail. Sasuke actually goes up to the stone engravings and actually starts to inspect them. He's actually looking at them and actually like thinking what the hell's going on. Now this right here is a little bit of what we've seen in the preview. Sasuke presses one of the stone tablets and Isshiki just pops up. Again, we've seen this in the preview. It's right here. What Sasuke is now understanding is that these stone engravings are actually do represent specific Otsutsuki members, and everyone that he does press, the Otsutsuki members hologram is actually going to pop up. I've seen a lot of people in the comment section asking like, hey, how is Isshiki Otsutsuki still alive? Isshiki Otsutsuki is not necessarily still alive. Well, we don't necessarily know, man, because he could have possibly left back a karma suit, but that's besides the point. This right here is only going to be a hologram. It's not going to be Isshiki Otsutsuki. He sees Isshiki Otsutsuki, goes over to Momoshiki, presses the stone engraving of Momoshiki, a replica or a hologram of Momoshiki Otsutsuki pops up as well, and then goes up to Kage, does the same thing, a hologram of Kage pops up as well. Now here's the interesting part. He goes over to the other one, and it's pretty much blacked out. Usually on all the other stone engravings they had a circle in the middle of it, and this one, this circle right here is completely blacked out. It's hollow. I had the idea that it's pretty much blacked out because Isshiki Otsutsuki is kind of still alive, like he's still present. Now a couple of pages later, Isshiki Otsutsuki actually pops up. This is going to be the first time that Sasuke actually sees Isshiki Otsutsuki, and it's going to be absolutely insane. So after Isshiki Otsutsuki pops up, Sasuke hears some rumblings and he goes a couple steps to the right, and then he sees a whole damn 10 tails in the pit of the Otsutsuki dimension. And just looking at Sasuke, the 10 tails are obviously yelling and roaring at Sasuke. Sasuke is like completely confused, man, because it is a whole damn 10 tails that no one really knew about. So of course Sasuke is pretty much completely surprised. But right after Sasuke sees the 10 tails, Jigen actually enters this dimension. Now we've seen this in a preview, and I talked about this in my last video. I kind of broke down the preview, and I talked about how this portal right here does not necessarily mimic the portal that Sasuke uses. Sasuke has a portal that's kind of bluish purple, and this portal right here was like burgundy or kind of red. So of course this right here, in my opinion, was obviously going to be Jigen coming out of this portal. So of course this right here is going to mimic exactly what we did see in the Boruto manga. So of course Jigen comes out of that portal. Jigen makes a beeline straight to the 10 tails and tells the 10 tails some kind of interesting things. He says, hey there 10 tails, have you been behaving? He says, now I keep telling you that you can't eat me yet. The the vessel must be completed first. Now, I'm not necessarily going to spill all the beans yet, but that quote right there is very important when it comes to the overall plot of the Boruto storyline. But right after Jigen says that, he absorbs chakra from the Ten Tails, which is pretty much giving Jigen a complete boost of his current form. What we understand right now is that Jigen is probably absorbing the chakra from the Ten Tails because he understands that he's going to be going in battle very, very soon. And he actually says that. Well, he doesn't flat out say it, but he says, perhaps I'll go pay a visit to the two vessels. And obviously, because he's going to be paying a visit to Boruto, he understands that he's going to be coming into the same contact that Delta came into when she actually entered the Hidden Leaf Village as well, which is going to be Naruto. And obviously, there is that outside possibility that Sasuke is going to join the battle as well. So this right here is pretty much where it ends off. Sasuke is literally just standing back, understanding and basically seeing everything that's going down. While I was watching this in the Boruto manga, I said obviously there's a good possibility that Sasuke just attacks Jigen right then and there. At this particular point, manga readers didn't necessarily know, and anime readers right now didn't necessarily understand how powerful Jigen was. So of course that right there is still a real possibility, but right now it's looking very, very interesting. I do want to point out for a lot of the anime viewers, this right here is going to be one of the biggest moments in the Boruto series period. Manga readers, you guys already know the battle that we're going to get to see in a couple episodes is going to be absolutely insane. Now, I don't necessarily want to say it's going to be completely set in stone. One thing that I have to say is the fact that Organic Dinosaur in the future is going to be releasing a couple more spoilers. I think the next 4 episodes in spoilers very, very soon, supposedly at the end of this week or potentially next Sunday or next Monday, something like that. And then we're going to actually find out exactly what the episodes in the future are going to be representing. Of course, we can't necessarily say 100% for certain because the anime is adding some anime only stuff in regards to Boro and his religious background and stuff like that. But I personally think this right here is going to be the time where we get to see a lot of the battles that we've been waiting for in the Boruto manga for a very long time. But it's been your boy Baara B, and we out.
It's a knife.